Welcome back, everyone. Our first session with Michelle provided valuable insights on the state of food banking and set the stage for the rest of today's sessions. Thanks again to Claire for sharing her time with us. We'll hear from Michelle several more times throughout the day, including our finale recognizing partner anniversaries and your chance to win one of 5 drawings for a $100 credit toward a future order. You must be present to win, so you won't want to miss that. Let's get started with our next session. First, for those of you who I have not met, I'm Tammy Nielsen, Vice President of Partners and Programs here at Food Bank of Iowa. I'm pleased to introduce several of my team members for this next presentation. We're going to provide a behind-the-scenes look at what happens after you place an order with Food Bank of Iowa. Essentially, everything that happens before the food makes its way to you. We'll start with a quick video, and then you'll hear from Emily Shearer, Food Acquisition Program Manager, our Operations Manager, Alyssa Baer, and Ben Wary, Acquisition and Operations Coordinator. I know you've probably visited with them many times over the phone, and this is your opportunity to put their names and faces together. There will be plenty of time for questions at the end of the session. To ask a question, simply go to the chat box on the right side of your screen and type your question. Let's roll the video, and then we'll jump right into our discussion.
At Food Bank of Iowa, our job is to find free and reduced cost food, keep it safe, and deliver it to our 700 frontline partners, who then hand that much needed food directly to Iowans facing hunger. We source more than 17 million pounds of food every year through the USDA, donations, and aggressive retail food rescue. A retailer or manufacturer may have a surplus, an odd size, or a product is close dated or simply mislabeled. We also purchase up to 15% of our inventory to provide the variety and nutrition our partners need to stock their shelves. Just like online grocery shopping, Food Bank of Iowa partners order from our inventory through Primarius. We manage 7,500 orders a year. After the order's placed, that's when the magic happens. The order is reviewed for accuracy, released, and sent to the distribution center. 2 days before delivery, our team pulls each order item. Orders can't be changed at this point. The orders are placed on pallets, wrapped, labeled, and prepped for delivery. Then maps, routes, and delivery times for all orders are determined, and partners are notified of delivery times. Next, orders get loaded onto trucks. Last year, our drivers logged 210,000 miles across 55 counties. That's 8 trips around the earth. When the driver arrives at a partner agency, volunteers unload the food and stock their shelves. When the driver returns, orders are confirmed. Then, the system opens back up so our partners can place their next order from our ever-changing inventory. At Food Bank of Iowa, we find high-quality, nutritious food and get it to our partners as quickly as possible. Because of you, we know Iowa families are getting the food they need to thrive, and our communities are stronger for it. Thank you for being part of our passionate, hunger-fighting team.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Shearer and I'm the Food Acquisition Manager here at Food Bank of Iowa. I've been here a little over 5 years and work most closely with sourcing donations from manufacturers and wholesalers, ordering our USDA food, and purchasing for special events. I did used to handle all of our purchasing and will speak about those 3 key sourcing streams during my time. When I first started, a really good month for us was distributing about 800,000 pounds. That 800,000 pounds was a really good month for us, but we were striving to get to 1 million pounds. Our stretch goal was 2 million pounds, feeling like if we could get there, we would have made a really huge dent in food insecurity in Iowa. Fast forward 5 years and a pandemic later, and we still have more food to distribute. We have made a huge dent in food insecurity, but we want to do more. We now regularly distribute well over 1 million pounds of food every month. Everyone watching right now is a crucial part of the work that we do, and we truly couldn't do what we do without you. Your hard work, your passion, your big, generous hearts. So we'll go to the next slide. So how we get our food, I call it an inventory pie. 10 to 15% is purchased. This is to ensure we have a steady supply of foods we might not receive through Donations or the USDA. This is where we get most of our canned fruits and vegetables, our canned protein, and our jelly. We have heard a lot from you as Michelle and our RPC is out visiting our partners. We've heard from a lot of you that you're seeing up to a 50% increase at your pantries right now with the neighbors that you're serving. So with the amount of neighbors being served and the increase in size of orders we're seeing in our distribution center, that percentage is increasing, getting closer to 15 to 20%. Our other ways, just food, we have access to vendors who offer special pricing just for food banks, just for Feeding America food banks. For example, a can of tuna you might purchase at the store is probably around 80 cents to $1 a unit. Maybe that's higher now. We can regularly purchase that can of tuna for about 50 cents a unit. So really, that's the most cost-effective way that we can purchase is through Feeding America vendors. Food brokers are also a really popular vendor or a really popular opportunity for food banks. Food brokers are a third-party seller or tasked with selling previously sold food. The food is often available at a deep discount, but it's already past its best buy date or it is really close dated. Although food brokers are a way to secure food, and we've definitely gone that route, the food may come damaged or not as advertised. I have definitely been burned by food brokers, so I'm a little hesitant to go that route. I usually, we gear Ben and myself with purchasing through Feeding America. We also purchase through retailers on occasion for special events or with specific requests that might not be available through our traditional vendors. We can't get everything through Feeding America. So I do work with buyers. A lot of times I work with places like Fairway to secure some of those items. 30 to 40% is USDA. As Michelle mentioned, that's, edging maybe sometimes closer to 40 to 50%. USDA is by far the most complex and complicated part of my job. There are multiple ways USDA food is offered, most often through entitlement and bonus. So with entitlement, that's how you see a lot of those staple items. That's how we get our peanut butter, our rice, and our pasta sauce. Without getting too in the weeds and boring you all, I could talk about this all day, whether I wanted to or not. It's that complex of a program. We receive a budget through DHS. We receive that funding. One of the kind of most complicated parts of USDA is that the program is administered in a different way in each state. So Iowa is unique in the way we do USDA, just like Illinois is unique, just like, Indiana is unique, just like New York is unique. So that budget is administered through the DHS, and I typically order USDA for 3 months at a time, and it's ordered about 3 months ahead of time. So by the time you've seen that food, I have, I maybe placed that order 6 months ago. And then just as soon as those orders are set, we can't change them. We also occasionally receive bonus offers. That's how you see a lot of the fresh produce, the dried beans, the dried fruit. Occasionally we get really great items like the milk you see on inventory right now. That's all through bonus. And that's how we receive our cheese. And then occasionally you also see butter as well. Something to note, unfortunately, I have no control over the USDA orders, the USDA product, meaning that if a 10-pound package of chicken is offered, I can't request that it come in a 1-pound or a 5-pound package. That's just the way it's offered to us. And a lot of times that format, that packaging, that's just the most cost-effective way that they can secure the product. And it means getting the most for the money that they have. So it's not always ideal, but that's the way that the product comes. And then 50% is donated. So 50% is the largest part of what we do food-wise. It comes in a variety of ways. For those of you who are partnered with retail stores, you might be doing what we call food rescue, and that food goes directly from the retailer to our partner agency. It doesn't come into our distribution center. I work specifically with manufacturers, wholesalers, producers to rescue large-scale donations. So think truckloads of product. For those of you that were here during our Barilla Rigatoni phase. And I say phase because I think it was well over a year where you just saw rigatoni. That's the type of donation that I secure. So most of the Barilla pasta, the General Mills cereals, and the snack items that you see on inventory, those are all through donations. Last month, through donations alone, that means the donations I secure through manufacturers, wholesalers, and then the donations that Sonia helps coordinate and secure through retailers, we sourced 680,000 pounds of food. That was just rescued food alone. Food is donated for a variety of reasons, whether that be damaged or close dated, it's mislabeled, or maybe it's just a discontinued product. You may have noted, for example, my go-to example is dented cereal. You're probably not going to see a dented box of cereal on the shelf, and if you do, you're going to reach for the one behind it. That dented cereal then comes to us because while it might not look the best on the outside, that interior packaging is still secure, meaning the product is food safe. It's just maybe not saleable. So, and then sometimes manufacturers overproduce or retailers have excess product left from a sale. Mess labeled food doubles as not only a donation, but a great volunteer project. For example, crackers that are maybe supposed to be gluten-free, but they're accidentally produced with gluten. We can slap a sticker on there that says has gluten, and then that's now something that we can distribute and that you can distribute food safely to your neighbors. Something that makes us unique at Food Bank of Iowa is that we have clean room spaces, which means that we can repackage bulk and food service product. So sometimes we receive 20-pound, 25-pound, 50-pound packages of food. Obviously, we can't distribute that to our partners, and you can't likely give a 50-pound package of something to your to the neighbors that you're serving. So we would repackage that into maybe 1 or even 10-pound packages, what I call consumer packaging. During 2020 and 2021, some of you may have received zip top bags of cereal or rice or pasta or oats. Those were all repackaged in our clean room. So a clean room is a food safe space that's cleaned and sanitized before and after every shift, which allows us to safely repack that food from a bulk format. It's not food safe to repack food not in a clean room. Next slide. So each slice of that pie is important. Purchased food is our most steady and consistent way to get food for our inventory. We purchase items based on what we know is coming in through USDA, so we don't just only have canned peaches or only have canned green beans. We really do try to get a variety. And then also to fill in gaps left by donations. For example, we don't have a Dole or a Del Monte plant in our service area, so we're likely not to get large donations of canned fruits and vegetables. And while difficult to keep track of, USDA programming has provided cost-prohibitive staple items like meat, milk, and eggs. And donated food from wholesalers and manufacturers are how I source the majority of our pasta and cereal. And then something else that's great about food banking, if we ever have excess of those items like that Barilla Rigatoni, I can trade with another food bank who maybe doesn't have a source of pasta to get something that we maybe don't have a source of through donations. So we'll go to the next slide. So while each piece of that pie or each slice of that pie is important, it's also wildly unpredictable. With recent price increases, rising freight costs, and continued inflation, there are less options and our dollars just aren't going as far. It is still far more cost effective to use our donor dollars to purchase food through vendors like what we have access to through Feeding America. Especially during the pandemic, a lot of vendors pivoted to fulfilling retail orders, leaving us with less choice and longer lead times. The majority of those issues have balanced out, and we're able to get most of what we need through Feeding America. It's just getting more expensive. Donated food will continue to be a huge and hugely important part of our inventory. However, donations could become even more scarce with rising food costs and with manufacturers placing higher importance on lean processes and reducing food waste, which is great. That's something else we work towards, is reducing food waste, but it just maybe will translate into less donations. So I'll continue to work with donors on opportunities of food that requires repackaging, relabels, and foods that are close dated. Next slide. Something that Michelle and Claire maybe touched on during their opening session is the reduction in USDA. We talk about that USDA, the cliff. So you might talk within your pantries about your pantry, excuse me, you might talk within your pantries and your network about the benefits cliff. It's that metaphorical cliff a lot of people face when they're utilizing much needed resources. But even with a penny an hour raise or promotion could push them over that benefits cliff to where they're no longer qualify. So they're still in need of those resources, but because they now make too much, they're no longer eligible. So I talk similarly about facing a USDA cliff. USDA programming has been pretty wild the past few years. In my 5 years here that I've been with the food bank, I have seen trade mitigation, farmers to families, also known as CFAP, CARES funding, and most recently Build Back Better. Those programs, while having provided a huge and much needed bump to our inventory, they were not set up in a sustainable way. It's looking like those funding streams are gone, and we are going to return back to the USDA levels we saw 5 years ago, to where our inventory was maybe 30% USDA. So we'll still have those pantry staples like the rice, the peanut butter, the pasta sauce, but there might just not be the variety, and there might be less meat, less milk, and less eggs than we've been seeing. Next slide, please. So opportunities. Looking at our inventory, I hope you do notice the nutritious food that we offer and the our partners. Purchasing food is really important to Ben and I to purchase the healthiest option, even if it means spending a little bit more. So, for example, we opt whenever possible to purchase fruit packed in water or juice, canned vegetables that are low sodium or no salt added, pasta sauce that has no sugar added. That's really important to us over purchasing things packed in heavy syrup or full sodium vegetables. So although it feels good to offer snacks and desserts because snacks are very important, I do try to focus, and I know Ben tries to focus on bringing in the healthiest items. And we would encourage you to use your fundraising dollars to source items that you're not able to get through our inventory. As much as I would love to have an endless supply of milk, eggs, and meat, specifically ground beef, those are some of the most cost prohibitive items to source, and we try to get the most for our money. So speaking of snacks, while you occasionally do see items like cookies and fruit snacks and candy on our inventory, we never use donor dollars to purchase those items. All snack foods come to us through donors that also are donating things like juice, crackers, and deli meat. Next slide. So bad food. Close-dated product is a huge area of opportunity for food donations. As you know, dating on food is tied to food quality, not food safety. We never distribute food we know is bad. We make mistakes, certainly, but when we put food on our inventory, even food that is expired or close-dated, there's always an extension date offered with that product. So baby food and baby formula are the only items that expire on that date. Everything else has an extension date. For example, a can of peas that has a best by date of 5/10/22, today's date, is actually food safe to eat 2 to 5 years beyond that listed date. The same goes for other shelf-stable items like pasta, rice, and beans. Perishable items like milk, a little more hard and fast, but milk has an extension date of 7 to 10 days, meaning it's food safe to eat or drink 7 to 10 days beyond the date that's listed on that packaging. If you are ever uncomfortable distributing food, please, by all means, do not distribute it. Just know that when we are offering that food on our inventory, there is an extension date tied to it. You're always welcome to call Ben or Alyssa or myself with questions just to confirm. And we always try to be as transparent as possible. That means, letting you know when something's beyond its specified date, when it's packaged in bulk, or if there's other considerations you might need to make. And like I said, you're always welcome to call with questions. There is a resource we use called the Food Keeper's Guide. And this is a resource that was put together, I think, with USDA. There was some people, students in a nutrition program at maybe Cornell, University, but they put that together. So it's a pretty comprehensive guide that we reference for everything. There's also a website called stilltasty.com that's a really, really good reference if you ever have questions. I just got lost in my notes. Okay, and then I'm also happy to share that resource as well, either the Food Keeper's Guide or the link to stilltasty.com. Those are really great resources. And sometimes I receive donation offers from truck drivers that have been rejected for whatever reason from their final destination. A lot of times it means cases, sometimes pallets of product are likely going to be thrown away unless the driver can find a home for it, because they often have to go on to another pickup or delivery. So given where we're located, I do receive a lot of these offers. However, I know that some of you might receive an offer for, pallets sometimes of product, and unfortunately you're not always able to store it. Please consider working with your other food pantries if there are other resources in your area to share, or contact me and I'll do my best to find a home for it. And the same thing goes for your communities that have manufacturers or wholesalers that extend large donation offers. I've heard of donors being very generous excuse me, I got lost again. Oh my goodness. Yes, being very generous within their local communities, which is great and really exciting to hear about. Occasionally, they may extend an offer that exceeds your capacity. So yeah, please work together or contact me. And a lot of my job involves educating donors. Some of you may be familiar with the Good Samaritan Act. It's also called the Bill Emerson Act. And it was implemented, I think, in 1996 by the Clinton administration to mitigate food waste. Something like 40% of food in this country is wasted. I'm just as guilty as anyone else. I often put salad bags of salad mix in my vegetable crisper, never to be seen again, unfortunately. I don't know why I do that, but it happens. So, but that act, so I think that's what we think of with bad food, obviously. But a lot of that food, like those examples I just provided, they're still completely fine. But what that law does is remove any liability from the donor. So what it says is if you're donating something in good faith, there's no liability for that donation. So that helps ease some of the donor hesitation. And then next slide. So recapping, Food Bank of Iowa, we will continue to be a cost-effective resource, but not a 100% solution for partner agencies. Whenever possible, connect with your community to champion that work that you do. If you're unable to source something through our inventory, utilize your own resources to supplement your inventory. USDA food will be limited, fewer commodities available. If you see a decline in protein, milk, or cheese, I haven't quit my job. The funding is just not as available as it used to be, but you'll still see those pantry staples like peanut butter, dried beans, pasta sauce, and rice. Really important point, food does not expire. Food dating is tied to food quality, not food safety. We do take food safety very seriously and do our best to distribute nutritious, good quality food for you. Most importantly, thank you for what you do. What you do makes an incredible impact. Next slide. Final slide, I should say. There is my contact information. Please ask any questions, call, email. I love questions. I love talking about what I do, and I feel very fortunate to do the work I do and work with all of you. So that's all I have. I know that was a lot, and I do love questions. So we'll save time for questions at the end if you want to pop them in the chat as they come to you.
That we commonly receive about our ordering process and how we get food out of the door. Typically, when we've done this session in the past, I usually kind of give a run through of how to place your order and any sort of tips and tricks that we would recommend for our ordering system. However, this is all covered in our partner agency orientation, so we decided that today we would just focus on some of those more frequently asked questions. If you would like a refresher on the ordering system, we do have a partner agency orientation coming up on May 18th, so you'll be able to register for that. Next slide, please. Before we begin, I wanted to share with you some facts I find pretty impressive about Food Bank of Iowa for calendar year 2021. Between both our Des Moines and Ottumwa distribution centers, our team processed 7,519 orders. Food Bank of Iowa trucks drove 1,330 delivery routes across our 55 county service area. That equates to a little bit over 210,000 miles, which is equivalent to about 8.5 times around the Earth. Of our 700 total partner agencies, 500 of them utilize our deliveries, and 75% of all of our orders were delivered. So we look forward to watching these statistics and seeing how they change in the coming years as we continue to work to try to serve all of you to the best of our ability. Next slide, please. We will move on to some of the common questions that we receive. I think they have about 8 in total to cover. We will start with, can I choose my time? 2 answers. For a pickup, yes, you can choose your time. In fact, when you do choose your time for a pickup, this is the time that we have reserved for you at the distribution center to come and pick up your order. So that means that we expect you there at the beginning of that 20-minute time slot, just so that we have time to get you loaded properly, make sure everything is secure, and give you an opportunity to ask any questions you have about your order. If you are running late to that time slot, or you need to reschedule, something came up, or it's winter and the roads are really bad and you don't want to risk it, that's absolutely fine. Please just call myself or Ben, or your regional partnership coordinator, to let us know when we will get you rescheduled, or we will just let the distribution center team know that you're running late. Next, nope, just not yet. And then, so for deliveries, sorry, can we go back a slide? Thank you. For deliveries, unfortunately, you are not able to choose your time. However, the way that our ordering system is set up, you are still required to select one to be able to continue placing your order. We have tried to get this feature changed or turned off in our system, but unfortunately, we just can't do that at this point in time. So important to remember is the time that you select when you're placing your order for delivery is not the time your order will be delivered. At this point in time, we also don't have the ability to treat that as a time request. As you saw in the previous slide, we have 500 partners that utilize delivery, so we would just never be able to accommodate everyone's time requests without sacrificing our truck and driver efficiency. Next slide, please. So you may be asking then, when will my order be delivered? We ask all of our partner agencies that are receiving a delivery to have availability between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on the day of your delivery. And now you will receive an estimated delivery time prior to your order being delivered. If you're outside the metro in regional areas, you will receive that email to about 2 business days ahead of your delivery date. If you're in the metro area, that is 1 business day before your delivery date. Now, these delivery time emails are sent to the email address that is listed in the contact information section when you're placing your order. So that means after you have added all of your items and you are at the checkout screen and you need to enter name, phone number, email address, and any comments you may have about your order, that email address is the person that is going to receive that delivery time email. So if it needs to be a specific person at your location, just put in that email address when you're placing your order. And then in the same vein, if it needs to go to multiple people, choose one person to receive it, and then just ask that person to forward it on to whoever needs to get that at your agency. Next slide, please. Something that causes a little bit of confusion occasionally is the confirmation email that you receive will list a different time to a delivery time email. That is simply because it's an automated email that's generated through our ordering system. So once we review your order, we just kind of click a button and it sends an email. I'm sure most of you have already seen what the confirmation email looks like. And it will just use whatever that time was that you chose. So again, I'll just reiterate again, if you're on a delivery, that's not your delivery time. That's just the time that it forced you to choose to be able to place your order. If you are in a pickup, you will want to double check that that's the correct time. Occasionally you can just kind of mischoose the time and you thought you had an 8:40, but you actually have a 9 a.m. So just always double check that and make sure everything is looking good. That's the purpose of the confirmation email. And it will always look like it'll come from myself or Ben typically. It occasionally might come from one of your regional partnership coordinators. And it will always have, as you can see on the slide there, Primarius online order 182961, which will be your order reference number. It will always have that in the subject line. So that's how you can differentiate that confirmation email from your delivery time email, which would have delivery times and your date in the subject line. And that email will also just have, it's pretty simple. It will just have a list of all of the partners on your delivery route and their times. And then just keep in mind that for your delivery times, these are just estimates. We do our best to be accurate, but there's traffic, there's construction, there's delays in getting loaded here at the food bank, there's delays in unloading at partner agency locations. It might be winter and we have to do a little bit of snow removal when we get to certain places. So we ask that you just kind of allow half an hour either side of that estimated time for your driver to arrive. Next slide, please. Another one we get asked pretty regularly is, how can I add to my order? I've placed it and now I see something on the shopping list that I would like to add, but I can't get in and do it myself. That is correct. The ordering system as it is right now does not allow you to go back in from your side and add to your order. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means we have to do it for you on our side. So to do that, I usually just recommend calling or emailing myself, Ben, or your regional partnership coordinator. And with this one, I would usually say aim for myself or Ben first. And that's just simply because a lot of the time your regional partnership coordinators are out on site visits with you, so they just may not be able to get to their computer or get into our system to do that as quickly as maybe Ben or I can. So sometimes we see comments submitted with your order about adding something if it becomes available. Please do not rely on that as a way to add to your order, because after that initial review process where we send you the confirmation email, we're not typically going back and looking at those notes. So by the time we see those again, it's when your order has already been pulled and it would be too late to add. So in the interest of receiving the items that you're wanting, just wait until you see those available in inventory and then call or email to add those to your order. We can only do this if your order hasn't been pulled. So if it's already staged in the warehouse, it's already palletized and wrapped, we just don't have the ability and the manpower to go back and add to your order at that point. This usually happens about 2 business days before your delivery or your pickup date. Now keep in mind that's a flexible time frame. If we have closures coming up, if we have events coming up, if we're short-staffed, or if we are just exceptionally busy, we may have to pull 3 days ahead, and you may have missed that window to add. It happens sometimes, so just kind of be flexible with us. We'll try to do it if we can, but it's not, that 2 business days is not set in stone. Voicemails are a great way to add to your order. They are very quick, very simple for us. We'll just listen to it and do it as I'm listening to the voicemail. If you do choose to do it that way, please just include your agency name or your order reference number, or both if you have them, the product reference number for each item that you want to add, and then the quantity of each item that you want to add. And if you just run through that in a voicemail for us, we can usually just get them all added and you're all set. Once we have made those additions, we will send you a new confirmation email. So it will look exactly the same as the last one that you received after you submitted your order. It will just have those additions on there. So obviously we're manually entering these and mistakes can happen. So please just double check that confirmation email and make sure that A, we have the right product, and B, the quantity is correct. So always just double check that. And then in the interest of just trying to keep everything streamlined and keeping our workload manageable, we just ask that you only do it once per order. So So if you've already added 5 or 6 items to your order and you see one other thing that comes up, we ask that you just add the one time. Otherwise, you can imagine we had 7,519 orders in 2021. If we're going back constantly to add those, it would just be nonstop. So just once per order for the additions. Next slide, please. When can I place another order after I've picked up or received my open order? This can be done once your order is confirmed. So that means after you pick your order up or after it's been delivered, the driver returns back to the food bank with the paperwork. We will look at it, make any changes that are necessary, invoice, and confirm the order. That closes it out of the system and opens up to allow you to place a new one. This usually happens by the end of the day, which for us is 4:30, on the same day that you pick up or receive delivery of your order. However, there are times where the delivery driver doesn't get back until 5 or 5:30 or sometimes even 6 p.m. Those orders will be processed the following day. And then, like everything else that happens at the food bank, there may be meetings, events, closures, staff shortages, anything like that that may affect our ability to get those orders closed out by the end of the day. This doesn't happen very often, but it does happen, and we always do our best to get them processed as soon as possible. So we'll always be within that 24 hours after you receive your order. If for some reason it still is open a couple days later and you're not really sure why, just give us a call and let us know. Could be as simple as we just missed a button and your order's just been sitting and we didn't realize. So feel free to give us a call to work out anything like that. And then if you have any hesitations about maybe you're on a delivery route, but you also pick up, and the day that you're picking up your order is also the day that your delivery order is due, please just call us. We can work with you on it. We want to get you all of the orders that you need to the best of our ability. So we can usually work something out. And generally speaking, as long as we know that you are planning on submitting an order, we can kind of work around that. So you're always welcome to call if you have any questions about how quickly you'll be able to get in to place that new order. Next slide, please. And what happens if something is missing from my order if I receive the wrong item? Again, everything that we do here is touched by humans, so mistakes happen. Let us know as soon as possible. So myself, Ben, or your regional partnership coordinator, we can all troubleshoot that and fix that for you. If it seems like it's a big mistake, like maybe you didn't get any of your frozen items or you got the completely wrong refrigerated items, it's really important that we know about that as soon as possible, because it may be as simple as your refrigerated pallet got swapped with the next stop and the driver can just turn around and come back and swap those pallets over. So the sooner that we know of a problem, the easier it is for us to fix it for you. If it's a case where we were just out of an item and you were short 2 cases, or you just didn't get an item completely, we'll just remove that from your order. You should not see a charge on your invoice after that order is confirmed. So again, similar to double checking your confirmation email, you want to double check your invoice after your order is confirmed, just to be sure that if there was something that you didn't receive, that it isn't listed on your invoice with a charge. Next slide, please. Then speaking of invoices, how do we access our invoices and statements? These can all be accessed through the online ordering system. There is a tab called My Docs that you can see that's circled in the picture on the left over there. And there is one for invoices, there's a tab for invoices and one for statements. Statements give a snapshot of your entire account. So it includes any current and overdue balances, any credits, and any payments that have been applied during that month. It's best used for checking your overall account balance and sending payments. It only shows just the order reference and the total due or any payments that were applied, so it doesn't show any detail. Now the invoices, that's where you'll get your detail from. They will show a detailed summary of each order, including the items you ordered, the total weight, and the total price. Next slide, please. And then this one, I get this one a lot, and it always is challenging to solve occasionally. So how can I be sure my order submitted correctly? I've mentioned it multiple times, but I'll talk about it again. That confirmation email is your key. If you receive that confirmation email, that is your notice saying, yes, we have received your order, we see it, it's been processed, we're ready to go. So that usually will be sent within 24 hours of you submitting your order. Again, if it's a Friday, you're probably not going to get that confirmation email until Monday. So we're talking business days here. And this confirmation email is sent to the person that's listed in your account as the online ordering contact. So that may be a different person than who needs to receive the delivery time email. That's absolutely fine. Whatever makes the most sense for your specific agency is who we want that confirmation email to go to. It can only be sent to one contact. So if you need to send it to multiple people, we just ask that you go ahead and forward it on to whoever needs to see that email. If you are ever unsure if your order has been submitted fully, please just call and ask as soon as possible. Sometimes we can just see it sitting there and we can kind of grab it for you and finish processing it, or we can talk you through those last couple clicks of the button to get it submitted. Or if you just call us with enough time, we still have plenty of days for you to just place another order and still get it on the truck or still have it ready for pickup. The confirmation email will always come from a Food Bank of Iowa staff member. So again, typically it's myself or Ben, and it does have an attachment on it, which they're 100% safe. It sometimes pops up with a warning. They're safe, but it's not necessary to open that. It just kind of shows you what's the same information that's in the email, but in a little bit easier to read format. And then you have 48 hours to submit your order after you begin. So if you start it, you walk away, you check back in the next day, it should still be there and still be open, but you'll want to make sure that you finish it within that 48 hours. We see this occasionally where someone thinks they've submitted their order and they turn up to the distribution center to pick it up and it's not here. And it was never fully submitted. And unfortunately, the way that our system is structured, it doesn't come up with a warning for us. It doesn't give us a notification that anything was canceled. It just cancels it out and it releases those items back into inventory for other partner agencies to order. So just if you're within that 48 hours, you want to make sure to get it finished. If you're ever unsure if it's not submitted all the way, maybe it's your first order, just give us a call. It's a super quick check for us. Takes 2 seconds to look it up. So we're always happy to help you with that one. Next slide, please. And then if there was any questions that I didn't cover during this session, if you have a question about a specific item or you have a special circumstance that's come up that you're not really sure how to handle, please just give us a call. You can call myself, we can call Ben, you can call your regional partnership coordinator, and I can't even really think of a time where we haven't really been able to kind of work out a solution for you. So we can generally always find some workaround or some sort of a solution to whatever your question is or whatever problem may have arisen. So that is all I have. So with the next slide, we will go into questions, I believe.
We've got a few questions from partners in the chat. Maybe this one goes to you, Alyssa, and certainly anybody else can chime in with any helpful information. One question was, it says, we are unable to see inventory once we submit our order. I've tried it, unless I'm missing something else. Can you help explain how they can see additional items on inventory after their order is placed?
For sure. So you can't go in and see the shopping list like you typically would while you're placing your order. You can't kind of go in and see that virtual shopping list. You can, however, on I believe it's the top right-hand side of the ordering window, when you log in, there'll be a button that says print shopping list. So while it's not the live interactive version, it will give you a PDF version of what is available at the time that you click that button. So the second you click it, it will generate the list. It'll show you available quantities and any items that you'd be able to add. So with that, just keep in mind that if you print that list and then 5 hours later you give me a call to add, some of those items might not be available anymore, but you can still see it that way after you've placed your order.
And another question, can I place a pickup order at any time, or do I have to wait until my order due date? That's probably for you too, Alyssa.
Yep, for a pickup order, you can place it at any time. So again, we'll just choose the date and the time that works for you. So if that's Thursday at 11 a.m. and that time slot is available, go ahead and place your pickup order. The order due dates are only important for deliveries. So that just allows us to be able to make sure we know who's planning on ordering a delivery so that we can schedule our trucks and make our routes in the way that's the most efficient for us. But for a pickup, that's up to you. Whenever you're available to come pick up an order and whenever works, that's when you can place a pickup order.
There's another question. This one's probably for Emily. You mentioned bread and crackers, but we have not noticed them on the shopping list. Are they items we need to pick up?
Yeah, so I just used bread and crackers as an example. So I apologize for any confusion. The crackers was just an opportunity that we've had before with labeling product. I know crackers are a really great one. That's something I consider those as snack food. So I do look for those for donations. Bread is a really interesting area of opportunity. There is a lot of bread available. However, whenever we bring it into the food bank, we have to freeze it because otherwise, if it were to sit in our warehouse or in our distribution center for an extended period of time, bread is perishable. It would go bad. So we do, whenever we have bread, we work with volunteers to case it and then put it in the freezer. That being said, I try to reserve freezer space for items like protein that are more cost prohibitive. Bread is one of the more cost-effective foods to buy. So we try to limit freezer space, or excuse me, save freezer space for protein.
It looks like that's all of the questions in the chat. There's another partner reiterating that they also cannot see inventory once an order is placed. And so that first question that Alyssa responded to, that looks like a great opportunity. We could send out an email to all of our partners. Chances are, if there are a couple of you who don't find this to be an easy process, maybe there are more. So we'll communicate that out with step-by-step instructions on how to do that. And then we can also put it in our partner agency newsletter. Our next one will be, of course, in June, and we hope you all read those. Great information jam-packed in those every month. So this looks like a great opportunity to communicate that out more so that you can all take advantage of that process and see if additional items that you are looking for have been added to inventory since your order was submitted. Any other questions? If there are any, just please do type them into the chat. One question we do hear quite a bit, and I overhear a lot of folks responding to partners here at the food bank, is can partners bring our orders right inside? And right inside to their, not just to the partner door, but bring them inside and help them unload those. Alyssa, could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, just with the way that our routes are structured, a lot of them, the driver is gone for 8.5 hours. And we just don't have the time available in the schedule for the driver to come all the way into your building, unload the pallets, pick up all the pallets and bring them back, and help you unload in that way. We do have the availability to just bring it right to your door. Sometimes we can just go right inside the door, but they don't have the ability to bring it all the way inside. And we also want to be careful of your floors. A lot of you have carpet or tile that can get damaged by the pallet jacks and those heavy pallets. So we like to just stay on concrete and avoid any potential damages inside your facility.
Any other questions? Certainly, if you think of any through the day, even if they pertain to this session, you can type those into the chat. So what we'll do now, well, thank you very much to Alyssa, Emily, and Ben for walking us through the life cycle of an order. And we hope you found that really to be helpful. We're just going to keep things moving. I promised you Michelle would be back, and she's here to introduce our next session about a new Feeding America program called Service Insights. Michelle?
I'm back. I'm here. Thank you, Tammy and Emily, Ben, and Alyssa. You know that they're here every day. They're like ducks on a pond. They make it look easy, but we know that they're constantly paddling, working hard for you. So thank you, team. We're going to switch gears and talk about information for a little while. Information is key to providing the service we provide for Iowans. So information helps us provide for Iowans struggling to make ends meet. Information is the result of collecting and analyzing data. So the more data we collect and our ability to analyze it, the more expansive is the information available for decision making, both on our end and your end. Feeding America has created a system to enable the collection of neighbor data. It's called Service Insights. Service Insights will enable a deeper understanding of hunger, which will allow us to find new ways to meet the challenges. Let's learn more about Service Insights in this introductory video from Feeding America.
The single thing that unites every one of us in food banking and food pantries is that we care. We care so passionately about people experiencing hunger. We need to turn that caring into knowledge, and turn that knowledge into action, and turn that action into changing our world.
This is a uniquely important moment in the history of Feeding America. While we continue to be committed to feeding the hungry of this country, we have made a very important decision to also help to solve hunger itself. To do that, we need data. We need rich and meaningful data that we're uniquely positioned to gather. Service Insights is an effort on our part to gather data that not only helps us to understand whom it is that we serve, but to give us detailed information about what the needs are of those people.
Hi, Miss Shirley. I'm Terry. I'm going to just ask you a few questions, so if you'll sit with me, okay?
Thank you.
The joy and benefit of the Service Insights programs is that we are starting to be able to get that real-time data. What are they like? What are their experiences? What are their stories? Where do they live? How many kids do they have? What are their health issues? All of these complexities of human life that lead someone to need food assistance. And so when we have pantries who are using this, we can look at the data not just at that pantry, but at another pantry and another pantry, and see across the entire state and our entire system. When we can see that data, we can start making changes to our system that will better serve folks.
Every food bank and partner agency that participates in Service Insights will have a compounding effect on the usefulness of the data, both locally, regionally, and nationally. This data will allow us to build the largest national infrastructure to better understand hunger.
The Hunger and Health Coalition is an organization that serves the needy in our area, food insecure, and also those who need pharmacy assistance. It's a very individual-based need that most people have. We think that we need to understand our clients better so that we can build relationships with them.
I've been coming to the Health and Hunger Coalition for about 3 years. The people that work here are wonderful. I really enjoy them. They feel like family.
Doing electronic intake has helped invaluably. It helps us to explain to the community what we do and how much we do. I can go into the data entry system and in seconds it will tell me how many individuals I've served, how many families I've served, and specific demographic information. It's a lifesaver. It makes your job so much easier.
The data intake system provides me with a way to do reports that is quick and easy, so I have more time to interact with the customers. I can be out front, taking care and making sure things are okay.
It's long been a dream of ours to really look to food as medicine and to be able to offer food that can be tailored to a variety of different diets. So if someone's struggling with diabetes, for instance, we can have a host of different foods that are perfect for them.
I'm a non-traditional student. I'm a mom. I've gone there, and just stressed about not having enough food for myself, but also other students. They just took the time to talk to me and calm me down and tell me that they were there for me. They're a blessing.
I was the one doing the volunteering, and now being on this end of it, it's just made it very personal to me.
It is a wonderful thing.
So of course the highest and best use of this data is to do our jobs better, but another use of it is to be able to communicate the challenges that we are seeing to people who would like to fund us, communicate it to elected officials. How powerful will that be when we are trying to get more funding for school meals, when we are trying to prevent cuts for food stamps, when we are trying to build systems that prevent people from going hungry in the first place. And now the technology has caught up. It's cheap enough, it's easy enough that we can actually do this.
The need is so much greater than most people realize, and it is so satisfying to know that you're helping people's lives be better, that the worry that they face every day to be able to feed their children is something that we can help them with, and that means everything to me.
If we can figure this out, then we will have so much more opportunity and ability to be able to serve the problem. We're all in this business to serve.
It's going to take a lot of people in order to make this happen. It will require help from public partnerships, private partnerships, and it'll require each and every one of us in this network to galvanize around this work.
We can then translate those findings and that data into actionable insights that we can use locally, regionally, statewide, and nationally.
When we do, we can truly solve hunger in America. I'm so excited that you're willing to try.
Well, that was very interesting. And again, this was a tool made available to us by Feeding America due to our Feeding America membership. We're excited about the possibilities. I hope you are as well. Service Insights is a free and easy to use customizable system. It will help us improve how we connect neighbors with the food they need in a way that ensures dignity, accessibility, and efficiency. Service Insights will reduce time and paperwork, and it will help us better advocate for the people we serve. We're launching a pilot program soon with a dozen or so partners, and we'll learn a great deal through that pilot program. Next up, you'll hear from Amanda Porter. She is Feeding America Service Insight Manager. Her presentation today is pre-recorded since she couldn't be with us virtually. So we'll roll to that video.
Hey there, my name is Amanda Porter, and I am the Service Insights on a Meal Connect Program Manager with Feeding America. I am so happy to be recording this video for you today. Really sad I can't be there with you, but I'm actually volunteering at a food bank. And so I just want to give a little bit of background about myself. I came to Feeding America with this project last November. So I've been in this role for about 6 months now. But before that, I was at a food bank in Ohio, Mid-Ohio Food Bank, Columbus, Ohio, for 2 years in the same kind of role, helping food bank and agency partners onboard to a Service Insights platform. Prior to that, though, I spent 10 years in agencies. And so my background is really, really agency focused. During that time, I managed SNAP, case management, rental assistance, LIHEAP assistance, the distribution of TFAP and CSFP, as well as just all the things that you do at an agency, right? And so drove the truck, sorted the produce, managed volunteers, did donor management, wrote grants, and implemented softwares there as well. I like to jokingly say that the only thing I never did was drive the forklift, and that's because they wouldn't let me. I didn't have the right license, but I did drive the big truck, which is really fun. So that's a little bit about my background. And just to say that I come to this work from a very neighbor and agency centric perspective. Service Insights is largely just the collection of neighbor information. That's the customers we serve. I'll use the term neighbor to define those folks. Neighbor information electronically, right? And so most of us are used to either collecting that on paper, right? Handwriting our TFAP forms or all the other things, or maybe through a database or another collection tool. This is the program that has been designed by Feeding America. We designed it with the learnings of the network, and so the whole network in mind. This is a free tool. It will be free to you to use. It will be free to your food bank to use. And so I was invited to speak today by the Food Bank of Iowa. Thanks so much. And I'm going to share just a quick demo. This is an example. Your environment will look very similar. It may not look identical. And one thing that I want to mention is I am going to go through the process today of how we might serve a neighbor for TFAP. We are in the process of getting approval from DHS. I'm working closely with your food bank representatives and the state to get approval to do away with paper TFAP forms, and so that we could actually use this and not have to put things on paper. And so just know that until that approval goes through, we do still have paper. That will always be our backup. But in the meantime, once we do have this approval, this will be the solution that we can use. And so again, this is just a highlight. This is a demo. Things might look slightly different for you, but I just want to highlight a couple of the things that we might look at inside this environment. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And if I clicked the share button, that would help. There we go. Okay, what you are seeing is the login page. Okay, pretty straightforward login page. Either use your email or your username that is provided by your food bank representative. Do want to mention that you can have multiple at an agency, no limit to the number of users. And so we do have very specific user permissions. And so want to make sure that the people who need to have access to the data have access to it. And the people who don't, maybe just our intake volunteers and stuff, can just see what they need to see to get their job done. You can also, if you are a robust organization who has board members or a development staff, a fundraising team who wants access but just really needs to see the reporting, we do have a user role that can do that as well. And so for right now, I'm looking at this from the perspective of an agency person who is going to be doing intake today. We've got an event going on, whether that's a mobile distribution through a drive-through, whether that's a brick and mortar pantry visits, whatever today looks like for you. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. I do want to mention that our entire site is mobile responsive. So I'm on a laptop right now. This is what it'll look like on a laptop. But if you want to use a tablet, a desktop, your phone, totally any of those will work, and it will just be the same exact experience. One thing you're going to notice right up top here is that this is a test environment. That's on purpose. I intend to be in a training environment. Today, I'm just doing a training for you. Want to make sure that I'm always using a training environment if I need to. You will have a live environment as well as your training environment. And so if you ever need to practice or try again, you can always come back to your training environment. I want to do a quick tour of this homepage because I think there's a lot of really great information immediately off the bat. Quick snapshot of what's going on today. You'll see I already came in, served a couple neighbors, maybe someone started a little early. That's great. If you are talking to volunteers, your board members, if you are out to lunch with someone and just need to give them a quick snapshot of what happened today, all you have to do is log in and immediately you're going to see some information. We've served 2 households. One of those was new, and we've served 6 total individual, 3 of whom were new. And so that is new to your agency. At the drop of a hat, you're going to know today what has happened at your distributions, okay? If you've got more than one, great, they'll all get rolled together. Additionally, we know that it's really important that we break down our age. So we do have these age breakdowns here of children 0 to 18, our adults 19 to 59, and our seniors 60 plus. So you're going to see right off the bat that you have the ability to break those down. Additionally, maybe you give away more than one thing. And so you could have a mobile distribution over here at the school and a mobile distribution over there at the church, and then you're giving away produce down the block at the park. Great, you can track all of those. You can track them separately or together, okay? Additionally, food bankers really focus on TFAP, right? That's our bread and butter. That's really where we're giving most of the food away. I was an agency, again, for 10 years. We did a whole bunch of other stuff. You can track all of that and get your information about it. And so if you're doing clothing rooms, if you're doing baby supplies, if you're doing toiletries, if it's back to school and you're doing backpacks, all of that can be tracked in the system. Additionally, just to kind of give you that snapshot overview of what's going on. And so this is a calendar view. You can just look and see, oh, Thursday was our biggest day this week. Oh, it looks like we don't have anything on Sunday. Maybe we should, or looks like something got accidentally made there. This is a capacity building and engagement tool for you. All of this information is just intended to give you a snapshot view of what's going on in your system, in your agency, any given day. Great. I am going to come up to the top here, and this is really what we're looking at today. Okay, this is the intake. Most often, we're either going to be having to add someone who's new, right? Someone who's never been to a pantry before, or we're going to be searching for someone, right? They came last week, they came last month, they think they've been here before. We do have a number of searches. We have what we call an alternate ID. This is any kind of barcode that you can think of. And so if it's a library card, if it's a grocery card, anything like that, you can reuse. You can make your own. I've got a couple examples here, if you can see me in the corner, where you can make your own and just give them little key tags, or you can print one directly out of the system. The nice thing about those is if you scan them, it's a quick scan and go. You know, it's just another way to search for folks and get them through a little bit easier. Also, classic address, date of birth, name, phone number. I'm going to stick with name today, just that's going to be the one that I use for my demo, but just to know that those other options are available. And then we've got our add a new household button, okay? And so this is for anyone who's not in the system or anyone who hasn't been here before. I'm going to start with this adding a new one because I want to take you through the full experience. Click this button and you're going to see that what loads is our intake screens. First thing that you're going to notice, and it's going to feel like a lot, but I promise you can handle it, is you're going to notice 4 steps. It feels like a lot, but it's on purpose. The first step is everything that's on your TFAP form. These are the questions that you need to answer just to get folks through the door. The second step is your signature, okay? So this is just, yep, we're going to sign our TFAP, great. The third step is all the extra stuff that we might like to ask our neighbors, but maybe it's not as important, or maybe we don't want them to think they're not going to get their TFAP if they answer these questions. And so this can be gender, race, military status, right? If we have an emphasis on veterans. That's where all that biographic, demographic information is going to land. And then just a finish visit, right? Making sure that everything looks right and that we're good to go. For a new neighbor, it can take a few minutes, but for a returning neighbor, this is really fast. And so it's just a confirmation. I'm going to look here and I'm just going to say, okay, Amanda SD Test is going to be here today. Okay. And so we've got that basic information. We also, if you start typing in their address, it is going to Google locate you. Okay. And it's going to try to tell you, oh, you are here in Ohio and this is the closest address with 123. So you can click that. You're going to notice it's going to fill everything in for you, including the county. We know how important, especially for our food bank partners, that county is. But let's say somebody is unhoused, whether they're traditionally homeless or non-traditionally homeless. You can also click this button here that says no fixed address. What that's going to do is it's going to switch the address right into whatever your agency address is, okay? And so that's one really quick way at a glance to know that this person is unhomed, whether that's traditionally or untraditionally, okay? Additionally, you can choose to put in an email address or a phone number. If you choose no phone, it's just going to kind of clear everything out for you. But if you do choose a phone number and you put in a good phone number and they say it's okay to contact, at the end of this visit, they're going to get a text message with that alt ID, with that barcode that we talked about on the last screen. And so if you have them just take a picture of it, the next time they come, they can pull up that picture and you can scan it and they can be right on their way. So that's a really nifty little thing. If they don't want to be contacted, that's perfectly fine. That is a-okay. This is an optional opt-in kind of feature. Okay, then we just need to know, in addition to Amanda up here, how many other people are in the house. Today we're going to have 2. Okay? If they have a proxy, we're going to put that information in. If they don't, we're just going to say no. We are going to look and ask about SNAP. SNAP is a critical, important information for all of us to be capturing. And so we are going to ask about SNAP. For today, we're just going to say no, that my family doesn't happen to receive SNAP. Additionally, we have a couple other things that we're going to ask about. Does anybody receive WIC, free and reduced lunch, or they don't know, prefer not to answer? And so today we are going to receive free and reduced lunch. You'll notice down here that because that is one of the programs that qualifies them for TFAP, the system has already said, oh, we think you're eligible. Great. But what if the answer was no? Okay, that's perfectly fine. Then is your household income lower than? And this is the amount on your TFAP form based on having 3 people in the house. You'll notice that if I come back up here and I remove one of these folks from the house, the numbers have changed. And so this is reflective. You don't have to remember it. It's going to be right on the screen. And we will update your system when it is time to change. And so July 1, when your numbers update, we're going to update them for you. You don't need to remember. And no worries about using extra pieces of paper or trying to fill them in. Today, we're going to go ahead and say, yes, I'm under. And again, the system is going to tell you, oh, we think it looks like that this person is eligible for Iowa TFAP because they're under the income limit. Great. We're going to say eligible, and we're going to click save and continue. We do ask that the intake worker says that they are eligible, because ultimately this is a system, right? This is a system that's going to make our lives better, but all technology can be flawed. And we want to make sure that as intake workers, we're doing our due diligence to make sure that this person is in fact eligible or not. Never want the system to be the thing that denies someone service. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click save and continue. You're immediately going to notice that Amanda Testy comes up. Got our language here, USDA non-discrimination, and then we just need to sign. So we're going to type in our initials today and click save and continue. Easy peasy, just like they had signed on a piece of paper, okay? So once we get that done, we're going to go on to the next step here. And it's just going to take a second. I'm going to pause right here. All right, great. I'm going to click save and continue here, and we're going to keep on going. Okay, so what you're going to see on the next page here is kind of those other questions that we were asking about: gender identity, race and ethnicity. And so you'll notice that even if a question is required, there's always a don't know, prefer not to answer option. So we're going to say today that we are don't know, prefer not to answer. We have 1 person in our household. And you will notice that there's a question here of military status, but it's closed. The reason for that is we don't want everyone in the system always to have to answer every question on every visit, right? And so what we've done is we've set this up so that on the next visit, when you've already answered gender, race, all of the questions, then that's when military status will pop open for you. And so you can still get your military information here. It's going to look just like this. Yes, no, don't know, prefer not to answer. We're going to say yes, we're on active duty right now. And so you can answer it, but you certainly don't have to. And anything that's closed is kind of a visual indication that it's not required on this visit. Additionally, right here at the top, one of the things that we mentioned is that the following questions are optional and will not impact your TFAP service. We want to be sure that our neighbors are really understand that what qualifies them for TFAP has already been done and they're going to get their food. This is just information that is going to help us as agencies, as food banks, as Feeding America, as a network, really understand who are we serving and making sure that we're giving everyone the best service we can, right? Addressing racial and geographic disparities, making sure that we're really taking care of our veterans, all of those kind of things. And so making sure that we've got all that. Additionally, you might need to add a note like Jimmy is sick, that kind of thing, whatever, needs VA support, whatever you're looking for, okay? You can make that. And then you'll just click save and continue and keep right on going. Here's where I was talking about that if you add something like clothing, baby supplies, etc., you can just check that at the end of the visit. If you don't, great, nothing to check here. Like I mentioned, we've got that QR and barcode, and you can actually print that right out of the system. It's going to give them this alt ID, that's that number that they can look up. It's also going to give you a QR or barcode that you can print, okay? If you don't want to print it, that's perfectly fine. If you want to add one that they already have, their library card, if you've already printed some. Additionally, when you click finish, you're going to get this done modal that's going to pop up here. And if they agree to be contacted, they're going to get a confirmation text or email that has that card, okay? And so making sure that they can visit that. I'm going to go ahead and just show you here. When you come back to this screen, you're going to see you've got now 3 households served. 2 were new because we just added someone. But if we wanted to go back into Testy's record here, we're going to look up Testy, and we've got Amanda right here. We're going to add our visit again. Again, you saw that there were 2. It's just because I use that as an example all the time. So we've got Amanda right here. You'll see that their information is still here and all that. Okay? Has any of your information changed? Just important to confirm that no changes, no changes, no changes. Okay? And so I'm going to click save and continue here. And then this is just a little thing because they've already gotten their TFAP today. But if they've got no changes, you'll just click no changes. And then on their next visit, it's going to just be collapsed right like that. Okay? We're going to click save and continue. And so it can be really, truly, it can be that quick to serve a neighbor, right? If, hey, Amanda, nothing changed, great. You're going to click a few buttons and move right on through. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. Really wish I could be there to answer any of your questions. I'm sure you have many, 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 but I hope you're as excited as we are. Also, speaking of TFAP, there's some TFAP compliance. There's a bunch of reports available in here. So you've got your TFAP compliance report. You can export your data. We also have data visualization. And so once you have real data, we've got 7 dashboards you can take a look at that will help you visualize. You can print those right out into a board report, into a grant donation request, anything like that. And happy to show you those sometime in the future. But thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope you guys have a great meeting today. Thanks. Bye.
You'll be hearing more about Service Insights as we begin to pilot this summer. As you think of questions, please continue to stay in touch and we'll follow up with answers. We do have one question in the chat, and we've heard several as we've talked to partners about launching this program. So I will go through a few of those too that might be of interest. The question is Service Insights intake data system going to be required? We have our own system that tracks our stats and client information. We pull from those files and numbers to report on your website. So no, Service Insights at this time, it will not be required. It's just a free program that will help you, track your data a little more completely. It will provide reports back to you with aggregated data. So no, it is not required. It's meant to be a helpful tool and again, free. So something that we've heard from folks that they have some interest in, just trying to provide that to you. A couple questions as we've discussed this with partners who have said that they would be interested in the pilot is, hey, who sees all this data? Is this something, that people have access to, and do they know all of our neighbors who come by name, address, and that sort of thing? The answer is that data, as it lives with whatever method you use today, that lives within your organization only with those very personal identifying markers and information. We would get aggregated data that would better tell us unique individuals, number of times they seek service, and any other data markers that you choose to add to your intake system, but we would never get any sort of information that would identify any of those neighbors. That information stays within your own organization as it always has. We've got another question on in the chat. Will this presentation be available later to review? Yes, all of today's conference presentations and videos will be available probably next week. They're all being recorded, and so, we'll have those up on our website. You'll be able to find them under partner resources likely next week. Is the system available in Spanish if we decide to go with it? That's another question in the chat. I believe that we can have that translated. It's a Feeding America owned data system that they are providing to everyone, to food banks and partner agencies free of charge. So I believe that is the case, but we absolutely can check. Because Amanda had another responsibility today, this was a recorded session, so we can get that answer and supply that back to you for certain. Another great question, when is this available for our use? So we're going to launch the pilot program this summer. If you are interested in piloting the program and learning more about it, you can reach out to your RPC. They will be your best source of information. In fact, they're the ones who will be helping you with this and walking through this pilot with you. So that's another great thing is you'll already have the relationship with your regional partnership coordinator. You know how great they are with Q&A right now. Anything you need, you pick up the phone or you shoot them an email and they respond to. So they're going to be your frontline source of help as we're piloting this program. So that's another great thing, as we know that there will be lots of questions, and we're going to learn this together. So that's a great question. And so the answer again is this summer we will pilot that, and just reach out to your RPC and let them know that you have interest in learning more and possibly would like to be part of that pilot program. Couple questions that we've heard too is, hey, I use the pen and paper method to do intake right now. We don't track it in Excel, or we don't track it electronically at this time. What if I don't have a laptop or an iPad for use in my agency? It is our hope and our plan that we will receive grant funding to really pull this program out for wider use. We never want, as in everything we do, we want to remove barriers. If you do not have a laptop or an iPad or an electronic device to use for this program, we should be receiving grant funding that we can pass on to you and find your best, whether you would want an iPad or a laptop or a desktop, whatever would work best for your agency, we should be able to support you with that. And we're working on that behind the scenes right now. So we don't want it to cost you anything. This is meant to be, helpful and to supply more in-depth information, in particular, unique users. We want to know, of course, the number of points of service a person, receives, but those unique users is something that a lot of folks have asked us about. So that's another question we have heard. And of course, all your data is available to you that you would be collecting, and you can really customize that and include things that you already add in your intake system. If you're asking folks, in particular questions, if you're asking veteran status or military status, those can be incorporated into your intake questions. And you can then go to your own community and say, did you know that we are serving 20% of our neighbors in need are veterans? And that will help you inform, potential groups or people who are interested in what you do. You can explain, we added in a section on whether or not somebody is employed or a caretaker. You can report all of those things back in addition to the ages served, that you already collect. So there's great information that can be customized to each and every agency so that you may use this in the best way that serves you and your community and the neighbors in need. So a great program. Again, if you are interested in piloting that program, please reach out to your RPC. We will give you more information. I have a question in here that just popped in. Will this satisfy USDA tracking required for their audits of our program? So at this time, and I think Amanda touched on that in her video, we're working to try to get that TFAP form approved for electronic version and electronic use. Once that approval has gone through, then yes, it will. Many states and many food banks, Feeding America food banks, are already using Service Insights. And so those states have passed and approved of an electronic version of that TFAP form. We're in the process of working on that. So once that is approved, it will be, yes, it will satisfy that requirement for USDA auditing and the TFAP form. Are there any other questions? We might finish this a little early and give you more time for lunch if no more. It looks like that's the last question. Okay, well, that's great. We'll break for lunch now. We're still going to start at 12:40, which is the time the agenda lists, even though we're finishing up a little early here. We'll still see you back here at 12:40. And look forward to that section or that session about food rescue and reporting and all the great things that our retailers do to support the work that you do and getting the food out the door and into the hands of folks who need it. Thank you very much so far for attending, and we sure hope to see you after lunch, 12:40. Thank you.